Oh, hi, y'all. We have a real treat for you all today. QueerI star Antoni Porowski is here to talk about his new cookbook, Antoni in the Kitchen.
Yeah.
Hi, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
People are so excited about this.
Thanks. I am too. It's crazy that I still get overwhelmed when I just see the actual cover and I remember all of the work and all of the people that sort of like came together.
Yeah.
It's like QueerI. It's like a whole big, massive group of people came to create this thing.
Yeah.
And now it's out for
And you
everyone
can put
to
it out in the world and let people see it.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like for you in this book, it has to be especially kind of anxiety-inducing because it's not just a cookbook, it's also a memoir.
Right.
Why did you choose that style?
I mean, look, I'm a sensitive guy and I'm very emotional and like everything that I do, I think if I want to back it, I have to like support it 100%. Mm-hmm. And so we spent a lot of time trying to figure out like what kind of a book I wanted to produce. And like, did I want to keep it very technical? Did I want it to be an extension of QueerI? And then my brilliant editor, Rux Martin, basically was like, it doesn't have to be one thing or the other. She's like, think about your Polish heritage and like your weird relationship with, you know, growing up and like family stuff and like just put all of it in there. Just throw it all in. And I've never written a single recipe down in my life. So
Really?
like actually writing them all out and thinking like, why the hell is this dish important? Like, why does it have to be in here? And when I thought of the backstory, like there's always a story behind it. Like I really feel like all the dishes that like are important to us, the things that we like look back on, sometimes it's nostalgic, sometimes it's our heritage. Like there's always a beautiful story there.
And why do you think food has that relationship? Because I believe the same thing. You know, food, I think David Chang says, you know, food is nostalgic and good food has nostalgia built into it. It should take you back to a place. But why do you think food is that vehicle?
I mean, it's how we connect. Like we have to nourish ourselves. For me, it's like my ultimate love language. It's how I show my appreciation and my respect for other people. It's how I connect with strangers, whether it's at a restaurant or whether it's at home making a meal for somebody. It's like I grew up in a really dysfunctional home growing up, and like the sacred time that we had where we actually all got along was when we had a feast and where we all sort of like were able to partake in this thing together. And so, you know, it's like first dates, trying to impress somebody, make a banging risotto. It's like, it's at the center of everything.
Well, I feel like you're reading my notes because I was going to ask you, I need some advice. I need advice because you know it's cuffing season, which means it's the time of year everyone's trying to get with a man or a person or whatever.
It's called cuffing season?
Cuffing season.
I've never heard of that before. Is it because I'm Canadian?
Maybe. I don't know.
Okay. Well, you know what? I've just learned something new, so thank you. It's cuffing season.
You can't use Canadian for everything to be an excuse, okay? But, you know, cuffing season is the time of year which you cuff up with someone who's warm to keep you warm.
Okay.
So, what advice do you have from your book on what dishes to create for someone if I want to, you know, cuff with them?
Gosh, I mean, try to start something that you're at least familiar with. Here's a mistake that I always make, but I'm trying not to, so I'm just going to say
Tell me about
I always
mistake.
try to make something for the first time to really try to impress someone.
The first time?
Yes, because I'm always like, you know what? I've never made this before. Like, let's be ambitious.
It's the first time being alone with this person, first time making a dish. You were a risk taker, girl.
Big mistake. Like, you should do something that you're familiar with.
Yes.
I feel like risotto is a good way to start.
You
It's
really like
simple.
risotto a lot.
I love
What
risotto.
is so important about risotto?
There's
the butter?
There's actually not that much butter. It's the simple, you know what it is? Because for about maybe like 5 or 6 years or longer, I was making it wrong. And I was just adding all the stock. I was adding cold stock. I was mixing it too hard. And with like 3 simple rules of technique, you can make the perfect risotto. And it's like, it's what I remember when I was in university and I had friends over and I had no freaking money, literally living off like $40, $50 a week on food. And I was able to make it with like a leftover cup of wine and you were able to like feed a family of students.
So risotto is the most romantic meal that you think you can.
I think so, but omelets are even more romantic because you can make those for breakfast.
There you go, people. Omelets is...
Impressing someone in the morning, imagine you wake up, you roll over, and the person next to you is like, how do you like your eggs?
That was very erotic. We're going to move on from that. Yes, I do. Dear
Isn't
men,
that nice, though?
Dear men out there, I want an omelet with mushrooms and cheese. Well,
there you go.
Well, you know,
Crispy
speaking of
mushrooms.
your deep knowledge of food and what makes people happy, QueerI season is currently filming,
Yes.
and we have some great pictures of y'all from Japan, I think. There we go. Look at y'all out on the road around the world. You're global. What can you tell us about the next season? What can we expect?
You know how Netflix works.
I sure do.
I'm not allowed to say very much, but I will say that for anybody who had an appreciation of Mama Tammy in season 2, episode 1, I mean, she left a mark on me and on many people. We found someone who I think is very different, her own story and everything, but just somebody who just really shows up for others. And there's a certain someone who managed to give me the same sort of guttural cry where I physically tried to leave the scene. But like, it's, you know, it's so different. Japan is a completely different country culturally. Like the etiquette is just, it's like a different planet almost. But the human experience and the need to connect with other people and like that striving to want to be a better person and to show up for others, like it's universal. And I'm so excited that we get to do it with Japan.
Yeah, and what I love that you were all going to Japan is, Japan's a really interesting place for queer politics and queer life. They recently just had their first Pride Parade, and it's really, you're seeing, you all are able to have this global conversation about what being queer is. And I'd love to know, what is it like for you to now be this queer public figure that is kind of tasked with making the world better, not only on the show, but out around the world?
Yeah, I mean, look, I was like a totally private citizen, 2 years ago? And so I'm still figuring it out. I'm by no means an expert, but again, it's like tying it back when you were asking like what went into making the cookbook. I have to make it personal, and I have to sort of like start somewhere where there's an organic fit where I can really back it. I was really first, I was super triggered. Recently, there was a Pride March in Białystok, which is a northern city in Poland, and they had their first Pride March ever. And a lot of young LGBTQI plus youth and allies tagged me in these really violent videos where they were throwing flour at protesters. And I found out later that they were actually throwing rocks at them. And there was something, even though I was born in Canada, but I was raised very Polish. It was my first language. I still feel very close to my heritage. I'm only allowed to speak Polish in my house with my father. There was something like, I felt like it was a call to action for me, where it was kind of like, sometimes you just can't be complacent.
Yeah.
And you have to say something.
And you not only said something, but you wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post, which is really fantastic. And what was it like sitting down and writing those words? Did you ever imagine that you would be having this platform where you'd be speaking to something that folks out there that do not realize is what's happening in Poland is huge news right now. This is a very big deal, and you have become the face of that in America for us to understand it.
I just got like a chill and a bit of back sweat coming down the back, because sometimes I try not to take on that responsibility. But here we are. And I just think, I think that it's important. I think that, the youth in Poland need to know that we're watching. The whole world needs to know, actually. Like there's some really messed up stuff going on in this country, but we are lucky in a sense, Like we're able to actually march through Pride. I marched Pride on the QueerI float, and we were able to do it safely. I did it in Canada safely. In Poland, they're not able to do that. But let's also address the fact that they had their first Pride March ever, and that's like a huge deal.
And lots of people showed up to support them.
Lots of people showed up, and there are more of them going on right now. Excuse me, as well.
Yeah, which is incredible. So, speaking of love, and we're about to run out of time, I have to ask about your love life, or what we thought was your love life, and that was Mr. Jonathan Van Ness. Everyone was obsessed with this. What we call that shipping? Shipping when you ship someone?
Shipping, yeah.
Why were people so passionate about seeing you two in deep romance?
I don't know. Honestly, it's something that started out, it was July 4th. We were leaving a dear friend's barbecue party, and we were in the car. And purely as a joke, I wish I could take credit for like orchestrating this whole thing and like
it was like some PR firms came in and strategized.
Seriously. It was like purely like, let's just take a dumb photo and like do a little kiss. And then it turned into this whole thing. And then we decided, he came over and we were like munching on chips, as one does when you're the two of us with just a little bit. This is what happens when you take us off set and we have too much time on our hands.
Carbs.
And we decided to start JV Antoni, which is like our couple's Instagram page. And we just had so much fun doing it, and we laughed like idiots. And that's something, people like Jonathan just bring out like the silly little boy in me.
Oh. It was super fun to watch. It was dreamy. It's also fun to think about, are you going to fall in love with your best friend? What does that look like? And it could be Antoni and JVN one day.
Possibly, one day.
We'll say a prayer or I'll light a candle. I don't know. We're going to figure it out. Well, Antoni, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
It's been lovely
I really
having
appreciate
you.
it. Thank
all
you.
of you out there, Antoni in the Kitchen is out now. But up next, I'll sit down with the legendary talk show host, Jerry Springer.